Typically, I make videos on people who I kind of have like peripheral knowledge of, or they just sort of popped up. So it's not someone that I have like an emotional attachment to or anything like that. But today is a little different because today I'm making a video about someone who I used to be a really big fan of. Like there was a time when like Cody Ko, Noel Miller, TMG, all that stuff was like the most content that I consumed. I even went to a live show once, which I rarely ever like actually pay money to go watch my favorite creators. But I did it for them because I actually like them a lot. And while I don't really watch Cody as much as I used to, that didn't stop these recent allegations from popping up on my timeline. And let me just tell you, it's not good. Before we get too much further into this video, I'm going to be talking about some heavier subjects, specifically SA and an R word that rhymes with Snape. So if you would not like to hear about that sort of thing, I understand. You can just go ahead and click off now because we're going to get kind of right into it. Cody Ko was born in Canada, Calgary, Alberta to be specific, but moved to the US when he went to college at Duke University from 2008 to 2012, where he was on the swimming and diving team and also a member of the Delta Sigma Phi fraternity. He was part of that wave of Viners that migrated over to YouTube in the early to mid 2010s, which is also around the time he moved to LA. He started off as a vlogger. He would vlog a few times a week, featuring himself and a rotating cast of his friends. It all sort of had a bit of a David Dobrik feel to it, but then he migrated to more sit-down content and podcasts. He married his now wife, Kelsey, in 2023, and they had their first child together earlier this year. So now that the uninitiated are all caught up on Cody Ko, I want to get into what this video is actually about. So as far as I know, Tana Mongeau is like the bad girl of YouTube, okay? As someone who never really watched her that much, the things I know about her is that she's like said some really insensitive things, including the N-word. She like really proudly abused drugs and alcohol. She went out and partied during COVID and got like really upset that people would dare get mad at her about that. And around 8 years ago, she put out possibly the most awkward video I've ever seen when she collabed with Cody Ko. Honestly, now that I think about it, that might actually be the only video of hers that I've watched from start to finish. So yes, Tana is the party girl of YouTube, but she is very, very open and honest about everything she does, even if she was known to exaggerate the truth like a little bit. To her credit, I will say that Tana today is not the same person she was back then. She has grown and matured, you know, as you do into your mid-20s. Because reminder, when she like popped off on the internet, she was literally like 16, an actual child. So while she should be held accountable for the things she did back then, you do have to look at it with the context that that's an actual child just acting up, and not just a normal child, one with, you know, resources and access to do whatever she wants. So there will be a bit of a, you know, arrested development there. So as we can tell from that super awkward video of them, Cody and Tana have known each other for a while. Like I said, it came out 8 years ago, so in that video he would have been 25 and she was 17. Looking back, it's actually kind of surprising how young she was considering all the stuff she was doing. But like the whole premise of this video was her teaching him, you know, all the cool new hip slang because he's an old boomer and she's the young hip YouTuber or whatever. Back in 2021, on one of the earlier episodes of Tana's podcast, Canceled, she was talking about like old relationships and old hookups and all this stuff, and dropped kind of a bomb that she, when she was 17 and Cody Ko was 25, that they hooked up, which I don't know how this wasn't a bigger deal at the time, honestly.
And that's not right. That's not correct. I know now. I was 17 at the time, 18. Like, that's not what you do, but at the time it was just like, oh, you think I'm this and you're treating me and calling me all these names and treating me really horribly and like using me for a lot of money and like...
If you're gonna say I'm cheating, okay, I'm gonna cheat.
And it's like, if you're using me for mad money and making me buy hella shit for you and like, you know, forcing me to fly out to you just to be like super emotionally and like psychotically abusive, like shit, okay, bet. And so I started kind of hooking up with other people. Shout out JC Kalen, shout out Cody Ko.
Don't.
Oh, Jesus.
According to Tana, after that episode, Cody immediately hit her up, like asking if they were good, and mentioning that he had his wedding coming up, so he didn't want this whole thing blowing up. That's just a crazy response, to be honest. Like, hey, I know I sexually assaulted you when you were a teenager, but like, it's kind of ruining my wedding, so if you could just shut the fuck up, that'd be nice. It's a crazy response to have. But for whatever reason, Tana's had to take the episode down and remove the part where she talked about being underage and hooking up with Cody Ko and JC Kalen, whoever he is. I'm not quite sure, but maybe someone should look into him too, because that's probably also a crime. Now fast forward to just a few months ago, Brooke and Tana's podcast was on the road doing a live show, and in this segment that we're about to watch, they were doing a thing where they kind of like have rapid fire questions, like have to answer them truthfully, and Cody Ko would come up yet again.
What's the smallest dick you've ever had sex with?
Oh my god, do no one look at me, Cody Ko.
It is important to note that they asked people not to record because they were going to be spilling some hot goss, but people recorded it anyways, and, now we have the clip. And then literally 3 weeks ago, at the end of one of their podcast episodes, Tana was addressing this yet again, and this time she also addresses the reaction to the news.
We were on tour. We were saying a bunch of shit on stage in a bunch of different games, and we thought we could trust the people as we had the whole tour. Because it really was like at every other show we were saying the craziest shit about people, and it wasn't being brought to light. And however, I understand that this isn't just some crazy tea. It was a crime.
Yeah.
And I've tried to talk about this a million times, and I feel like I never have the right words. But it's everywhere all over the internet, and I know people want me to talk about it, and I'm going to do my best right now, I mean, I hooked up with Cody Ko when I was 17 and he was 25. Yeah, it happened. And I think that, first of all, I'm trying to think about it from a perspective of like a younger sister or someone that I really care about. Even the other day, like I was texting just about her life and everything that's going on in her life right now. And I thought to myself, like, how protective I was over her, especially before she was 18. And if something like that was happening to her, I would never let it fly. Well, you know what I mean?
It's honestly fucking disgusting. And I also think when you're that age, you think you know everything and you think you're way more mature than you actually are. And then from our age now, we can look at it in hindsight's 2020 and it's like, oh my God, you were a child.
Yes.
You were young.
To be 100% truthful, when I look back at the Cody situation, I definitely am like, why was he doing that? You know what I mean? And there were so many situations. There was a situation with Gabby Hanna at a Playlist Live where she pulled him aside and told him like, yo, she's 17. And then we still went and hooked up. And I can look at that and be like, like, why the fuck were you doing that? But there isn't a part of me, at least at 25 now. I mean, I look back and I would never do anything like that. So I'm like, the fuck was wrong with you?
Yeah.
But I don't associate or hold it with trauma because I am such a comparative person where I'm like, so many worse things have happened to me. And that's bad.
I was just about to say, you can't do that to yourself though.
Because I have my feelings towards it, right? And like, I'm expressing those right now. And I said that on stage very much so as just I was being jokey about it and whatever, right? And it's almost like the public's reaction to this has made me feel 10 different types of ways that I didn't feel before. Like I have seen so many comments of people like on some like, but what was she wearing shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On some like, well, it's Tana Mongeau. And isn't that crazy?
That's so fucked up.
Because I really like, how I feel towards it, but now seeing all of these people like not believe me and say, well, what if she's lying or she's this and she's that and she's dramatic? First of all, there's nothing, I would never lie about that. Like, I'm not going to put an allegation on anyone, like ever like that, obviously. But then I just like, I feel so bad for all of these young girls because then they see that and then it makes them not want to come forward. And then I am like, wow, fuck everyone.
Yeah.
Like seeing people not believe you is so crazy.
That's fucking awful.
Like and I'm grateful that I'm the type of person that I don't let things like that discourage me, but it just makes me feel so sad for so many people that aren't like that,
Definitely.
Like, and how much people love him.
Like, I know.
It makes me feel so sorry for any real victims of people that are really fucking loved by people.
This feels like a great time in the video to remind everyone that the first person that brings up the age of consent automatically loses here. No matter how you try to slice it, a fully grown 25-year-old man sleeping with a 17-year-old is just weird and gross. But just for argument's sake, this apparently happened at Playlist Live, which takes place in Florida. So for all you little freaks out there that are just sticklers for age of consent laws, the age of consent in Florida is 18. So it is not only gross and weird, but literally a crime. Like, we're just talking about statutory rape here. Also, I've seen people saying that maybe he just didn't know how old she was. But that excuse is complete BS too, because Tana Mongeau is a super famous public figure. So one quick Google search would have told you exactly how old she is. I'm 100% sure her birthday is public information. And on top of that, Tana and Gabby Hanna, of all people, have spoken to the fact that Cody was informed that night that Tana was 17 and just went on through with it anyways.
One time, I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage, and I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know, I know she like looks a little older, she's underage, watch it. And he's like, oh my God, thank you for telling me. And then he turned that.
So the idea that Cody just didn't know or wasn't informed is complete and utter bullshit. Cody allegedly committed a crime and did so knowingly, which makes it even more gross and weird because as a grown-ass 25-year-old man, frontal lobe fully developed, if the law won't stop you, then what exactly will? And because this is a woman accusing a man of sexual violence, of course the response on the internet has been awful. Tana is not the perfect victim, mostly because the perfect victim doesn't exist. It doesn't matter who is accusing who. Dudes on the internet will always find a way to try and poke holes in the allegations. Because let's just be honest, a lot of guys are just fans of sexual violence. I don't know how else to put it. Tana has been visible on the internet for a long time and she's done a lot of fucked up things. And so people are now using those things that she's done to poke holes in what seem to be pretty credible allegations. Or at the very least, they're just ignoring it because she's the one who's making it, and they just see it as, I guess, Tana being Tana again and being in drama, which is lame as fuck. Like, what we have in this situation is a victim who is not really liked by a lot of people, who's kind of seen as a problematic person who seems to always find themselves in drama. And you have Cody Ko, who is kind of the opposite of that. Up until now, he was really like, you know, the clean-cut golden boy, for lack of a better term. He never really did anything bad or problematic, which is part of the reason why I liked him. Like, I have to believe if it was any other two people in this situation, like let's just say for example a random YouTuber with millions of subscribers assaulted another random YouTuber with millions of subscribers, like that would be one of the biggest stories of the year on YouTube, but instead it's just completely being ignored by everyone. Like a lot of the commentary channels I watch, which is most of them, haven't made a video, haven't spoken on it, haven't even sent out a tweet about this, which is crazy. There are some rumblings that Cody has been trying to get this story buried. It would make sense. He is friends with a lot of the other bigger commentary YouTubers, so maybe he just called in a favor and they're all being complicit. Maybe they just don't know what's going on. Since it hasn't been talked about a lot, I didn't really know what was going on until a couple days ago. And even once I found out what was going on, it's been really hard to research for this video because his subreddit is just taking any and everything down that even mentions this story. And eventually the community just went on private, so I can't even see what's going on in there anymore, which is crazy. Like the level that he and the people around him are going to bury this is nuts. There are even rumors that Cody and Kelsey announced their engagement when they did to bury this story. Now it could just be a coincidence, but at this point I'm inclined to believe like anything. Speaking of Cody's wedding, let's move on to the next part of this video. Remember at the top of this video when I said Cody used to make vlogs with his friends? Well, one of those friends was Colby Leachman. Here both of them are at Cody's wedding last year, and here is Colby in one of Cody's old vlogs.
Damn wobbly pops on this perfect day. Super rare blood sun. Super rare blood sun. Look at that shit. Yeah. Ooh. Hyper rare blood sun. In case you can't see it, I'm pointing. Ready? I'm pointing to it. Well, your hand's kind of in the way where I'm pointing.
So you might be wondering why I've dedicated an entire section of this video to a dude who pretty much everyone only knows as Cody Ko's friend. Well, that's because in 2011, while Cody and Colby were students at Duke and members of the same fraternity, Colby was accused of allegedly drugging a girl, raping her, then bringing one of his friends to come in and also rape her, while he videoed the entire thing and then would later go on to show that video to members of his fraternity. Also a reminder that Colby is the son of a Duke University professor and the stepson of the university's provost, which is important because nothing ever really happened to Colby for this incident. He was given like a slap on the wrist. I think he was put on probation by the university, but was never even charged criminally. And the person that was brought in to independently investigate this, Dr. Celia Irvine, was not only not licensed to work in North Carolina, where Duke University is located, but was also cited in a lawsuit around the same time for lacking, quote, fundamental fairness in a separate sexual misconduct case. So despite the overwhelming evidence, I can't really say that they did this for sure, but I guess theoretically, Colby Leachman and Brian Self, who is the other guy that was involved in this, are literal animals. Like, I'm talking subhuman. Like, I genuinely don't understand how disgusting of a person you have to be to allegedly drug someone, assault them, call your friend over to also assault them so you can take a video of it and show it back to your boys at the frat house. Like, that is legit some like 80s movie villain shit. I wish nothing but the worst for these two individuals, and and like I hope they're miserable right now. Also, fuck Colby's stepdad. As provost, your job is to enforce the rules of the university, and I don't think it's just a coincidence that his stepson, who had multiple sexual misconduct allegations at this time, they just happened to find no wrongdoing of him despite like boatloads of evidence, including the video of what is alleged to have happened. Like, I don't know, the video should be enough. Maybe the pattern of behavior, seeing as how multiple people had come forward with allegations against Colby. Like, it's just really messed up that Colby was able to run around like terrorizing his fellow students with impunity because it was his stepdad who was the person in charge with disciplining people. Like, there's just no way you can look at this in a vacuum with no bias and not even see some sort of wrongdoing here. The board ended up ruling unanimously that they found no wrongdoing with him, like, which is crazy. So it just seems highly unlikely to me that Colby's family connections didn't play at least a role in him getting off with that. But back to Cody. Like I said, he was a member of that fraternity, and Colby was showing the video to other members of that fraternity. So there's like a 0% chance that Cody didn't know what was going on. But despite all that, he decided to keep that guy around for years, put it in his videos, promote him, hype him up, tell people to go like follow his Instagram and stuff, and open him up to a level of influence and access that he would have never had if it wasn't for his famous YouTuber friend. And even now, he still got invited to the wedding and all that stuff. Like, I don't know, man. If someone I knew was a known rapist, I'm just not being friends with that guy anymore. Like, call me crazy, but at my wedding in the future, there will be a strict no rapist policy. I'm sorry. Everyone has to draw their line somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where mine is per se, but I'm 100% sure that rape is on the wrong side of it. But maybe that's just me though. With all this stuff out there and floating around and kind of getting a little bit of traction now, I think we really need to hear from Cody Ko. Like, maybe it's all one big misunderstanding. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe, you know, he had no idea that she was underage. He had no idea that his friend was a rapist. Maybe he didn't know any of this stuff, and, you know, now he's cut ties with all of them and life goes on. An apology to Tana would be nice instead of we good. But realistically, all the evidence right now points to him definitely having done this. Like, Tana's story over the years hasn't really changed. All the dates line up. She has a corroborating account from Gabby Hanna. And speaking just for me, Cody sitting back and not saying anything is making him look even more guilty, especially as his fans and Reddit mods run around terrorizing people on the internet for daring to speak out about this. But then if you go to like his comments on his YouTube videos, there's just no mention of this anywhere. Like, scroll through the comments on all his most recent videos. No mention of it anywhere, which is crazy because this is probably one of the bigger stories on the internet right now. And the person who's at the center of it, there's just no mention, which means he's 100% like censoring words or deleting comments, which again, just makes you look more guilty. So if you are innocent, if you really didn't know, you got to come out and say something. You got to come out and say that, because right now, just sitting back and hoping this will die down because Tana Mongeau isn't like a pristine, perfect person, hoping the internet just won't believe her, is an awful look. So if Cody is innocent, you got to come out and say something, because all silence does at this point is lend credence to the allegations, and sitting back and allowing your fans and your Reddit mods and everyone to just attack Tana online for no reason is just gross and cowardly. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got at this time. I don't know what it is, but big creators seem to be drawn to underage girls like moths to a flame. So maybe you guys could not do that. I don't know, just a thought. Thanks for watching. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all that fun stuff. It really does help out me and the channel, and I really do appreciate it. But most importantly, remember to have an amazing rest of your day. Okay, bye.